Not much. What's going on with you?
Not too much. Hey, when are you supposed to go back to work? Do you hear anything?
Supposed to go back on the 13th or the 14th, but I don't know if we will. It's just what it's set up for. Hey, you on the podcast?
What's the podcast?
Just like before, except it's over the phone.
Oh, okay. Sounds interesting.
Yes.
Another quick question.
Go ahead.
Do you have an engine hoist?
No,
Oh, okay.
I could probably get one. I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Go ahead.
I think Shanti got one.
Oh, okay.
Right.
We thinking about, I guess John thinking about this other crossfire.
John,
Yeah,
what do you mean he thinking about it?
like you might want it. And I was thinking it needs a transmission, but I think the valve body, if I switch the valve body out, I think that'll be good enough. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well, they got a whole trans for 300, 400. Plus you gotta get it delivered.
Three
Uh,
to 400 delivered. You got to get it delivered from where?
That's eBay.
Oh, okay.
And then they have the valve body with the filter and the gasket and the connector and connect it all back together. That's only 100, no more than 150.
Okay.
And the car drove like a little bit when we pulled it off the tow truck. Like I was able to back it into the driveway. I'm thinking maybe it's not too serious, but then again, I might be wrong.
It's not going forward.
No, it's not shifting at all. It was for a minute. The other one working fine, the other car.
Wow, it won't go forward at all. But the other car has a good trans altogether. Why not just put the whole trans?
Well, I don't want to destroy one car to make one good when they both basically are salvageable, you know?
Okay.
It's just that one, this one that has the bad trans. I don't want to take the whole trans out without taking the engine too. If we decide to go with a new trans. But I'm thinking the valve body might work.
Does it have a lot of miles on it?
170.
170.
Yeah.
How's the?
What are you talking?
How is the oil? Like, how's the transmission fluid? Burnt?
I haven't even looked at it or checked it, to be honest with you. Because we can't get it running. Like, when we did get it running, I forgot to do the scan. And we started it back up. I did the scan, but it didn't show. What did it show? It had a few codes, like a communication code. It could be the computer, or it could be the connector that connects to the transmission.
I would maybe get the whole thing. I mean, I don't know how hard it is to switch out a valve body, but you gotta be aware of how sensitive it is as far as torque specs. And once you take the valve body off, there might be check balls and all different kind of procedures that might get a little bit complicated.
Well, they showed a video on YouTube, and a young lady did it, like a teenage girl did it. Her father showed where the part came from. It's a two-part video. I didn't see the two-part video. I saw the one part where she took drained the transmission fluid, dropped the pan and the gasket, took out cleaned it all out, and took out the valve body. the valve body is like, it's kind of weird to explain it. You got to watch the video. I could probably send you a video of it, and you can watch it for yourself and see. It's not that hard, but if that's not the problem, I don't know. Well, it might just be the problem. You know?
Well, you need to have the engine running. How's the engine doing right now? Is it running?
It'll run. You just have to jump it.
How good is the engine? How good does the engine run?
It runs good. Like nothing wrong with it.
So the engine's solid.
Yeah, it just leaks oil. I think it's the valve cover gaskets.
It leaks oil out of valve cover gaskets. No check engine lights.
Nope.
Just
no codes coming up on the engine either.
No codes on the engine, but just for something with communication on transmission or something.
Yeah, it's a communication leak, and then there's another leak that says something about the transmission control
module.
Something on it. Yeah, I think it was the connector that connects to the pan. It's the big connector that's electronic, and the valve body, all this sits in fluid, electronic fluid.
Honestly, what I would recommend is to, if he really liked that car or is interested in that car, I would say to see how everything else is, like as far as the engine, let it run, let it get up to operating temperature, see if if the engine's worth all that work. I mean, even in this situation, you could even pull the plugs on it, see how the plugs look, do a compression check, see if all 6 cylinders got the kind of.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think that none of that. The engine is working perfectly because no coals are being read on the engine at all.
Okay.
Like, no engine light, no coals, no overheating. The only thing I can say is like it's the oil leak.
What I would do is that's probably a valve cover.
Yeah.
What I would do before doing anything is I would try to get with a transmission tech, maybe a Chrysler tech. I don't know how similar that truck or that car is to a Mercedes. That maybe somebody that's working on the side, or a transmission shop to at least help with the diagnosing, because the diagnosing is going to be the hardest part. So even if it costs, say, $250 to diagnose it, that way you won't have to do something that you don't necessarily need to do. But it could be a computer somewhere. That's probably an easy swap first before doing it shouldn't be, because that should be a manual linkage to the it could be something wrong with the linkage. It shouldn't be from that year really a drive-by-wire type of car. It's like if you put that in drive, then that should go in drive.
Right.
And at least usually a car might have an issue where it's slipping or something like that, but the fact that it's not going in drive at all, it depends on how much you're willing to throw parts at it. Because if you just switch the valve body, it might work, but I don't know if it's I don't know how long it takes to do that. That would be worth doing. And then I personally wouldn't go into a valve body just because it's so much. I would do a whole trans swap all day, but I wouldn't do a valve body. Everything from the pan. The most I would do to a transmission is a pan drop, clean, filter change, and even that I'd be very careful just because of the gasket that holds the filter, the transmission filter. Some vehicles are different. GM vehicles that I've done in the past, you have to have a tool or a special way to get that little gasket out. The Ford vehicles built the gasket into the filter, but you got to know little tricks or whatever to really do that right. But doing a valve body, I've done one in school, in transmission school, And when I did it, the teacher told me that it wasn't going to work, and he took it all apart and redid it. So you gotta have torque wrench ready and know every spec and every update, and it's kind of
Well, this one is kind of simplified. There's not really a lot to do with it because I don't know. This is a lot different from like the American cars that we work on, and it seemed pretty easy. And I know if she did it, if she took it out and took it down. I watched a few videos. I'll send you a link.
Now, did the video specifically pertain to the specific problem that you're having?
Well, it was limp mode, and I've been looking up like the limp mode. I guess that's like where the transmission is not shifting.
Yeah, but that usually lets you move at least low rate of speed. Limp mode.
Well, that's what happened when I first got the car too.
Okay.
It was moving at a lower RPM. Like I wouldn't even put my foot on the gas after I started just to put it in gear. I would put my foot on the brake after it's running. I would put my foot on the brake, put it in gear, and ease my foot off the brake, and it would move a little bit without me accelerating.
Well, if it's in a limp mode, I would get a second opinion first. I mean, you can still do the work, but I would get a second opinion on what's wrong. Like, have somebody diagnose it, because it's going to be a couple $100, but at least you'll have a second opinion. It could be a couple $100. Yeah, well, to get a good diagnosis, then you can.
Well, I feel if that couple hundred didn't do it, like the 150 I spent on the valve body, if that don't do it, then I know that I would need just a whole trans, because the trans is probably just really not.
Well, you can probably tell if you just look at the dipstick. If you pull the dipstick out and it's got varnish fluid on it, it's probably not. The trans is probably not good.
Right.
It's probably slipped at some point and burned out the fluid.
Right.
Just check out the fluid. Have you taken off the pan yet?
No, I haven't touched it. I haven't even touched this car.
Looking inside the pan could tell you, because the pan should be dirty on the bottom, and the filter might be pretty heavy, full of clutch material. But if you pull it off and you see that valve body is all varnished, then that means that the transmission's been overheated at some point.
Right.
But you can see that too just by looking at the dipstick. If it's like clean trans fluid, they would have had to probably change it right before if they were trying to hide something. But it don't sound like that was the case.
Right.
If that stuff will bake itself into the transmission dipstick. If it's varnished, the transmission dipstick will tell it right away. It could be any number of sensors on the whole vehicle that put it into a limp home mode or safety mode.
Well, I think the cheapest way for us to do this probably would be the valve body, and if that don't work, then you need a whole other trans. To keep the car, if you want it.
I think the cheapest thing to do is to get with a real good Chrysler technician that works on the side, who can come out and do it. They come out and they put a real good Chrysler rated scanner on it that can activate any actuator, any solenoid, that has full control, more than just a ODB2. And it might cost $150, $200, but they can come in and tell you exactly what's wrong. It's going to cost something just to figure out what it is. But at the same time, if you do the valve body for $150, you got to take into account all the time it takes you to jack up the whole car, take down the bolts, torque down the new valve body. It's going to take a
Well, that's the thing. I'm sacrificing labor for the price that I'm willing to put into the car. You know.
right.
Like
But
if I
either
wanted
way,
to spend 200.
you still won't know for sure until you.
Well,
you could
not for sure.
roll the
but
dice on 150 and it might not work.
No, it might not at all. But I think I'll be willing to sacrifice that just to figure it out. Because if it's not that, then that's good enough for me. You know.
But you might be surprised. It could be a broke wire somewhere. Something.
Well, yeah,
something simple.
That's what I'm saying. Like after you take out everything and connect it back up, I'm thinking it's a bad connector, actually.
Well, how about this? Here's another option. How many of these vehicles do you have, and how committed are you into the Chrysler Dodge vehicles altogether?
Because what are you saying?
Because you could get that next level tool. I don't know how much they cost, but you can get the next level tool to where it's maybe a piece of software that goes on a computer that can tell you more of what's going on with these vehicles, specifically Chrysler vehicles, or like just a higher level scan tool that can tell you. Because you really, well, if you want to work on this, you really don't want to just put those parts on it. You really want to have that tool to see what is going on. If it's something electronic, or something with the valve body.
Well, that's the thing. Most of these cars are all electronics. They're all sensors. And I could only look up so many codes, you know. And when you look up a certain amount of codes and break them down, then you actually answer where the problem might lie as far as the codes.
Right.
And then that's where you have to like break the code down. Like, okay, it's P0600 or P0720 or something like that. You have to break it down and figure it out that way.
So
and
with those
that's the best way.
With those codes though, have you corrected those codes?
No, but one of those codes requires the valve body connector, the transmission connector, that it might be a fault there.
Oh. And that's why you got to take off the valve body.
Probably work on it, and it might not have. That might not even be the problem. The valve body. It might be just a connector.
Right.
And that's one of the codes that we had a bad connector, circuit speed sensor connector or something like that.
Speed sensor?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
All right. So
engine speed, or output shaft speed. Probably engine speed.
Yeah, I think it was output shaft.
So those sensors usually are really robust and have very few moving parts. So I would just have you try unplugging all that stuff, cleaning it with electrical connection cleaner, and then plugging it back in. At this point, I would unplug everything, clean everything out with electrical connection cleaner, and get dielectric grease and put that in the plug as well. And see if you look into the plug, you'll see if there's any green corrosion or anything. Look for broke wires. The speed sensors, you can look up how to bench test those if it's an input and out. There's usually an output shaft speed sensor and input shaft speed sensor. The input shaft speed sensor is giving you just the speed of the engine, and then so you can so the transmission can essentially tell how much slippage is having between it. So the transmission between those two sensors can actually tell how bad it's slipping if it does ever slip, and that'll throw a code. But if it's the output shaft or the input shaft speed sensor, you know, those connectors, usually those sensors are pretty robust, but the connectors themselves, the sensors can be bench tested, I believe, if you got like a ohm meter. But I would start doing that before doing anything big.
Right.
Or anything that costs, you know. Try to see if...
Well, that sensor is kind of tricky because the whole valve body is electronic, and it sits in the transmission fluid, and it works with the fluid.
The sensor does?
Yeah, the sensor sits in the fluid too.
Oh.
Right. So it's probably best just to replace the sensor altogether because it's electronic and it sits in this transmission fluid.
So the sensor is actually inside the transmission. And do you have
It's in the pan, yeah.
Do you have to take the valve body off to get to it? Or just in the pan, just the pan that got to be taken off?
Well, you have to take off the valve body to get to the transmission filter.
You have to take the valve body off to get to the transmission filter?
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Right. And that valve body is like got these solenoids that sit inside there. And I think that if anything go bad first, it's probably the valve body versus the solenoids.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I just got to break down the codes I got. I was just wondering if you probably had a engine hoist though, just in case.
No, I don't have one. Only person I know that got one is Shanti.
Okay.
But they usually cost. I think Harbor Freight usually sell those for like 150.
About 300.
Probably about 3.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Come on, see what I'm gonna do first. Because it might not even call. I might not even have to take it all out. I'd rather not.
I think the best thing to do is to get somebody that is a traveling mechanic who's really confident in scanning, diagnosing and scanning. Have them hook up a high level scan tool that can manually, because like when you read a code on an engine, from an engine or transmission, whatever, it don't really tell you what's wrong. I mean, it tells you what the computer knows, and then you kind of got to be able to analyze it even further.
Oh yeah.
But with a basic scan tool, you have a lot less control versus somebody that comes in that might specialize in maybe they specialize in Chrysler vehicles. Could be a mechanic on the side that specializes in Chrysler vehicles that comes in and they can manually, like with that computer, you can do so many different things, like manually activating the solenoids themselves to see like, is it a broke wire or is it a bad solenoid itself? Then then that way, even though it might cost something up front, either way you look at it, something's gonna cost you. I mean, you might need an engine hoist, you might need a valve body, you got your time, whereas you could just put forth
I have all the time in the world right now. I'm not really concerned about the time or the most I'm concerned about is the money that you're putting into this car, because I only paid $750 for it. And it really doesn't need anything. I don't want to go and put like another $750 just to find out what could be the problem.
Yeah, but I don't think it'll cost $750. It probably only costs a couple hours of labor. It's probably $150. You know, I don't know. I don't think it's going to cost that much just to figure out what's wrong.
Yeah, but I think that the scan tool, is just, you know, as long as it's giving me a start to where to look at. And if I replace like the little nicks and knacks here and there, or even the valve body, I'll figure I'll save more money than I'm shelling out by just doing the work myself.
How are you coping with the virus?
Pretty good. You know, it is what it is. You know, I can't see us not all contacting it.
Right.
And, you know, be able to be a normal society. I think everybody's going to have it sooner or later, especially if they don't have a vaccine or a cure for it.
Would you be scared to take the vaccine, or would you trust it?
Well, if I don't have it, do have it, then I think that would help. Or, yeah, I would take it.
Do you know anybody at Chrysler that got it?
No. I've heard some people had it, like at the Kokomo engine, Indiana plant. I heard at one truck. I think I heard of one case at my plant. I think I heard of a case at Sterling. I think the person died at Sterling. There's a few people that have it. I mean, I can't, like I said, I can't see society not living with this disease. It's nothing new. It's just a different strand,
Yeah, it's like, should we lock everything down or should we face it and take what it gives us? It seems like, though, if we face it and we take what it gives us, the price would be very large.
Well, it's going to be large either way you look at it.
Right.
I think that because if there's no cure for it, or if it's a form of population control, it's going to take effect anyway.
Well, the human immune system is pretty good at beating it, but it's just that 1% that won't beat it. That's the crazy part. 1% won't beat it.
Well, I mean, I don't know the population of a lot of these little countries, but even some of the bigger countries are overpopulated. They've been like this for years, so something was bound to happen. Like, you got to do, a whole different mind frame of how people are being clean and handling animals or food. It gets out of hand, man. The more people you got.
Well, there's never been 7 billion people alive on the planet at once. That's a big factor, too. So many people alive today.
Right. I mean, we eat anything. You got some people that indulge in cannibalism, I mean, this is a crazy world we're living in. Now you got a virus, and every time you look on Netflix or any other TV show, you see something about a virus or a pandemic or something going on, or something contagious or outbreak, and people don't know how to live through this, and they don't know the devastation or the magnitude of what can happen when this really happens. Just think about it, how society has been over the years of natural disasters or anything that we had going on, like Hurricane Katrina, Ebola, AIDS, SARS, and you got the other. This is just a different form of it.
Yeah, well, what's really crazy is when I didn't know SARS was the same kind of thing as this. I thought SARS was some kind of herpes on the lips or something. I didn't know it was pretty much a respiratory condition, a respiratory illness. But
you think about it, man.
At the same time, I was so young, I just know people were covering up their faces. I didn't know what they were covering up, because when SARS came around, I was real young. I just thought, man, they must have something nasty on their lips. They're covering their faces. I didn't know what was going on. Because everybody was wearing scarves on TV. They were wearing bandanas on TV when that happened.
Right.
I was like, ooh, whatever they're covering up must be horrendous.
You got a lot of stuff out here. You just have to be careful. You got AIDS, HIV, hepatitis A, B, C. You might have a D and an E somewhere down the line,
Right. Yeah, it's not, I mean, it could be worse. I mean, this is like not as scary compared to some of the things that happen on TV, but this could make a real good TV episode or a TV series. Like, this is how it starts.
That's what they have out. If you look at Netflix, that's all you see.
It's like a Black Mirror.
It's a whole list of diseases or plagues or something.
Yeah.
And this is not the first time stuff like this can happen on Earth.
Right.
You know?
Well, this is the first time that we tried to control it this much. I mean, think about 1918 Spanish flu. We probably didn't get a hold of that till way later. Like, we probably, not even that we ever got, I don't think we ever got a hold of it. It was very similar to this. But I think by the time people knew, essentially what happened is biology took over. The human immune system did its thing. It's not like technology did anything in 1918.
All right.
The reason it was called the Spanish flu is because no country reported on the disease. They all pretended like it didn't happen because they were in the middle of World War I. And Spain was neutral during World War I. So because they were neutral, they reported on it. No other country wanted to let the enemy know that they were dealing with the Spanish flu. No other country wanted the enemy to know, so they wouldn't report on it. They just acted like it never happened. So you can only imagine how bad the Spanish flu took over when nobody even.
Was that one?
What'd you say?
Well, go ahead.
So no one reported on it. You can only imagine how bad it got, just because.
Right.
Only Spain reported on it, and that's why it was the Spanish flu, but it happened everywhere in the world. And it killed way more people than World War I itself. More people died in World War I from the Spanish flu than they did from combat. So it was pretty significant, but it's not really taught in history books, that's for sure. We like to forget.
Well, a lot of things I've learned, it hasn't been in history books. It's been learning on society and watching movies and, looking at other programs that, somehow tell the truth of how our past, progressed up till now.
Yeah, it's really, this is really just a crazy situation with, this.
Well, that's no worse than when we didn't have electricity. People really kind of fearing because no electricity, you couldn't even really, it's like you're going back to the primal stages of life,
Right, but then again, maybe with no electricity, something like this would just be more or less, I think it would be noticed, but if this happened in New York without electricity, we wouldn't know for a while. And you're talking about...
Actually, we would.
Would we?
Because when that happened, they knew right away, like, how many states were affected by this. And it was usually, mostly the whole East Coast and the neighborhoods around us. Like, you still had a few places that had electricity or gained electricity after that first day, but we didn't have electricity almost for 3 days.
What?
Or 2 days.
You mean, when did you lose? You talking about losing power? You lost power?
Yeah, you remember that time the lights went out?
Oh, you're talking about that big power outage.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that affected people almost to this extent, actually.
Well, I don't think that was as bad because people weren't necessarily dying. It didn't really affect me personally because I was so young. But that's kind of interesting because that was such a long time ago. Everything was different. We were way less dependent. I mean, what year? That had to be like 2002 or something.
Yeah, it was somewhere there.
See, that was a big event, but your car still started.
Yeah, your car started out. But like I'm saying, that it was on that effect because you couldn't exchange money electronically.
Oh.
That was one thing. You had to have cash. You had to have correct cash. Well, some businesses didn't even open up because they couldn't even transact cash.
Right.
And they lost power. They didn't have any power. So, You probably barely could get gas, or you could get gas.
If you had cash.
Yeah, if you had cash, you know.
I think this is a
Look
lot.
at that.
This has to be a lot worse. But what's really interesting is if that happened again today, would it be worse?
Or
It might
just
be.
imagine that happened on top of this.
If that happened on top of this, yeah.
You know, just think of how many people would die. You know, just for the fact that we don't have electricity. Plus, you have this virus that you can't even contain because people have to, they have to go out and get the supplies they need, you know, for everyday life.
Right. Well, I wonder.
Yeah,
I wonder, like, what can they do for you in the hospital?
well, just imagine if they didn't have any power, but now they could probably administer drugs that would keep you sedated or keep you from being sicker, but they don't have a cure.
Well, what I heard is that in New York they have so many cases, and the hospitals are getting so overrun that they're actually having a conversation about. They're actually having a conversation about how they can pick and choose who they save and who they don't. So who's worth trying to save and who they can just put right into hospice.
Well, they probably looking at everything, like a person who's had it, like who might be a carrier, and say they lived a longer time, but they had the virus and didn't know it. They're probably able to judge to see how long this person lived, or how they developed it, and how their body developed antibodies to fight this virus. They might look at if a person is coming in, if they really have it, or if they just have a cold because the season is changing, the weather's changing. So it could be just a regular cold versus this virus that you're talking about, you know. And even if they do come up with a vaccine, is this vaccine a form of having the virus itself injected into your body? And your body fights off this strand with the antibodies that are already in your body?
Right. That's one of my fears of a vaccine is like, what are they giving you now? Like, are they giving you the virus? But I don't really understand vaccines. But, you know, I'm like, what if they come out with a vaccine real fast and it ends up causing some damage and everybody took it? Like, everybody took it.
Yeah. Well, they did list the drugs that brought hope. And one guy did get on there and speak about this drug. I think it's hydro.
Oh, wow. Look at this accident. Huge accident. Guy probably got ran off the road. What were you saying?
They did show a guy that was taking a medication that's supposed to fight this virus, but I don't think they want to recommend it, but that's the only thing that really helps patients now. And they have shown signs of improvement, but I don't think that they want to use this for some reason because it has side effects or something.
Right, they probably aren't 100% sure of the treatment just yet. They don't want to do something that they haven't really tested and that they can confirm 100% works for everybody, approved.
Well, one guy did get on TV and you know, told a story about the drug that he thought would help, and he told the doctor to give it to him, and it worked. So,
wow.
I don't know. Maybe they'll take that into consideration too. Especially if somebody would have helped somebody who had the virus a long time ago or very severe. You know, if you run out of options, that's the best thing you can do is give them a drug you think that'll work.
Right.
You know, and hope for the best.
Well, that's one of the things maybe that could be better with the medical system, because when something does work, it's not like the idea can get spread that fast. It has to come from someone credible, or else it's not credible in the eyes of a doctor. If it doesn't come from a higher doctor. So if some guy shows up and it's like, hey, I'm taking malaria medicine, it's making everything better. They're like, get out of here. You're not a doctor. Right?
No, it's not, but you gotta have something that they could give you. I mean, I don't know what form of treatment they have other than what I heard about, but if that's working for a lot of people, I think they should put it out there.
I heard that in New York, they're really trying to step back and really analyze what they're doing for treatment because they don't feel like it's working.
Well, this might not be, I think this was developed in a lab anyway, so it's affecting the people with weaker immune systems, that's for sure.
Do you think that somehow it was developed in a lab and it leaked out somehow by mistake or on purpose?
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it.
Well, what's really crazy is that this happened in China a few months ago, and we kind of knew about, like, the public kind of knew, sort of knew, but we weren't thinking that this was coming here, like the general public. We really should have been warned.
Well, you figure if something develops over, if they say this developed over in China, okay, but there's so many cases now all over that there's no way that this could have been. This had to happen like a while ago. I think the first case was reported back in November, and they didn't do anything about it, thinking that it wasn't that serious.
Right. You mean in China or here?
Over in China.
Right.
This was like back in November, And you figure somebody over in China had to travel back and forth
from that area.
Just think of how many people
came back and forth from that area.
Yeah, from just that one area, or just say China by itself alone. And you coming over here, you're going here, you're going there. You got people coming in and out of China. It's probably as fast as people coming in and out of the United States.
Right.
And that being said, this virus is already out. So
as bad as it is, who didn't stop? Why couldn't they stop travel sooner? Like, travel should have been stopped back in November from China, from that area.
Know about it.
Yeah, but they had to know. Was it suppressed? Is it that China suppressed it?
They knew about it. They didn't know the severity of it.
They couldn't have, because when I was plowing snow, one of my guys with me told me about all this going on in China. He's like, yeah, it's bad over there. So he knew. He said it's bad. It's shutting down. It was shutting down production here for parts. So how is it that they just now, like last week, stopped travel from China? Last week?
Well, son, to be honest with you, they didn't want to cause a scare, but it's already out there. Like, so many more people are sick from this that we don't even know. We don't even know if we infected ourselves, to be honest with you.
Right.
And I think that the people who are infected, their bodies might be developing antibodies as we speak and working on our bodies like right now. But the people with weaker immune systems, they probably just can't fight it. They go to the hospital and they get admitted, or they tell them to go home and stay quarantined because there's nothing they really want to do, and they probably don't have the supplies, the manpower, or even the hospital beds to even care for all these people.
Right.
So imagine how many more people are going to die from this in a month span. We're projected to go back to work next month in a couple of weeks, but as the death span doubles, I really think that they're going to have to really hurry up, and the quarantine is going to be even bigger. Like, it's already a curfew for the state of Michigan, 12 o'clock at night.
So what time do you get? What time can you come out again?
Well, I think if you have an employment or anything, or if you have a job that consistently working at night, you know, I think things will go on. But like, if you have no business out at night, you might get a citation or something.
Well, that's kind of dumb. What are you going to be doing at? Well, I guess you could be breaking into something,
Well, you got
robbing somebody.
Still going out, living life like there ain't nothing going on because they don't probably believe something like this. Some people are probably in a panic state that they don't even want to leave their house. You know, but some people don't care. You know?
Well, sometimes I go and film at night, but not recently. But I used to. I used to go out at night and film. If I'm doing some 0 to 60s.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's nothing wrong with doing that at night, but it's just the magnitude of this disease. I think they want to really stress, you know, social distancing, you know, to a degree to where you don't interact with no more than 10 people a day.
Right. Yeah, I think so many people's got it, but don't know. And then the worst thing you can do is try to get a test, because then you're going to where it is. Like everybody, when you're going to go to a test, well, wherever they're testing, that's where the virus is. So you're just exposing yourself more if you don't have it, but you think you do. So it's like...
Yeah, I mean, so how many people you think tested positive for going to the doctor just because they feel sick? Or they might have it, you know, and then, you know, a lot of people probably scared to go, because if they go, they figure they're going to get quarantined or something, or you can't go back home or something. I don't know, but you can't even really get a test to test yourself, you know?
Right.
And I think that's a good thing and a bad thing, because if you did test for yourself and you tested positive, what would you do?
I don't know, but I think you got to shove something up your nose pretty far. So I don't know if you could. Like, I probably, unless they come out with a real simple test. What are they doing? Like swabbing the cheek or what? Like,
well, I don't know, but like you say, if you go somewhere and get tested, you might contact it then. You know? And you might not, you don't even have to have symptoms to have this. And that's the frightening thing about it. I think that people should just let it take its course. And that's basically what they're doing now. It's taking its course.
That's what they're doing. There's no talk about... There's talk about maybe a vaccine. There's talk about like treatment and ventilators. But there's no talk about something that you do right away and it makes it better. There's no cure. I mean, we can't cure a common cold. So I don't think there's really even a cure in sight. I think maybe there should be some kind of talk about how you can support your immune system better. How to support your own immune system when this happens.
Well, they did show you things you could do to help combat or, you know, not get, you know, keep your hands clean, have sanitizer around, keep the counters clean. They said something about your shoes. When you walk in the house, make sure your shoes are clean, or you take your shoes off, because you walk around the house and outside, bring the stuff in your house. If we just like that, to where you can't even walk in the house,
right?
You know, with your shoes on, then, you know, it's getting pretty bad. You know.
Yeah.
It's getting pretty bad.
With everything.
But then again, that's
everything.
the way that you.
I was gonna say, with everything that we're doing, we're not gonna kill any virus. Not one, right? I mean,
no.
We're not gonna say in a year. We're not gonna say, yeah. And as a side effect, the common cold is no longer here. Like, I don't think that's gonna happen.
No. Our bodies are not designed to just. I mean, you know, we could whatever the earth is, whatever the earth throw at us, we can usually get by, or fight. But, basically, if it's your time to go, it's your time to go.
Right.
No doubt about that. But, you just want to take preventive measures. Like they say, keep your hands clean. If the social distancing work, we could do that. But it's destroying our economy.
Well, one thing that's scary is that social distancing. What if it goes on forever?
Well, I think that they're trying to eliminate a lot of it by closing the schools for the rest of the year. I think that's a big start. Then you got the hospitals that are overcrowded. Like, how can you go to a hospital when you know someone had the virus in this hospital? Just assume that the virus is at this hospital, but you're going there to get a checkup. And like you said, you're going there. What are you going there for a checkup for? And they have the virus.
Also, the fact that there's been some studies and there's been some experts that say that being around the virus for prolonged periods of time, it has a different effect as well. It can be worse. You can get infected twice because you're around so much of it. It doesn't even make any sense. Like, if you're a doctor, you're around it 100% more than everybody else. Well, now you're even more at risk because you're constantly around it. Even if you beat it, even if your body's winning, it keeps coming in and it's just overwhelming. Well, what about the implications of just concentrating the virus in one spot? If I went to the hospital right now and like 10 people had it, well, you're concentrating it all in one spot. It's almost like, can they travel to the people's homes and treat them there? Is that possible? Is it possible not to bring it all to one place? Maybe quarantine people in their house and have it so we're not going to go to you. We're not going to have you come here and, you know what I mean, bring it here. You stay there. We come to you. And if you need a ventilator or...
That's what they should do. They should administer home test kits, family test kits of 5 to every household. It's kind of weird how they think this is going. And it's happening right at the time they're doing the census.
The what?
It's like the census. They're doing this right at that's why they're doing this right at the time of having the census. And that's like a hidden count of the state.
Do we have to fill out that paperwork for the census?
Well, that you're supposed to, because it actually allocates money that the state is up for, that they have a certain amount of people that qualify for a certain amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever kind of stimulus package or whatever they're doing, all this kind of works in play.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't fill it out. Something's been popping up on Facebook. But this social
count of how many.
Well, they should know how many people are here. Come on. I don't need to fill nothing out. They should be able to figure that out.
Really, because you got a lot of immigrants. You got a lot of people that move state to state.
Okay.
You got a lot of people that, it's a lot of relocations going on every so often. And I don't think that the census is every so often. It ain't every year. It's every 10 years or something. It's something like that or whatever.
Right. It seems like something that's outdated. 10 years ago, maybe. But in 2020, come on, you should be able to figure that out. All you gotta do is log into Facebook.
Well, still, it's like, it's like a common of all the people in this country.
Right.
And if they don't have a proper count, like, say if we have 8 million people in Michigan, and only, say, 5 sign the census, so you got 3 million people that's not accounted for in Michigan, as far as, like, benefits, I mean, benefits of the state.
Right.
So it's kind of good in a way to keep account every so often the people that, that stay in Michigan or Arizona or whatever.
The repercussions from this virus and all this social distancing could be so great. Like, this is just a perfect opportunity for us to leave the real world and to plug into the matrix, plug into Facebook. Why even exist? You can just message everybody, message your friends. What if this is just like the start of us moving from being a real society where we actually have physical contact with people to a society where we don't actually work, we don't actually do anything, but we have to just plug into this virtual reality?
Yeah. I was just telling John about that. He says, I think he says, what if we have robots to do our work for us? I said, no. I said, they made a movie about that.
Right. That could be. I mean, we're talking maybe 100 years down the road, maybe 150 years. But this is the start where we get so scared of a virus and facing the mortality. Like the idea that you're going to lose 1 million plus people out of 300 million. You're going to let 10 million people die to a virus. Stop everything. So we stop everything. And while the death would be great to have happen all at once, but it would have passed. We would have had truckloads of people. I mean, you'd have to put people in semi trucks, just like they're doing in New York right now anyway, because it's almost like they can't stop it. But you'd have semi trucks full of people, and that's a big thing in the face. Like that's a scary thing. But instead we decided to just go inside, stay inside, plug into the matrix. And then it just, right now what we're seeing Facebook, when you look at the past of technology and you think, wow, technology was real primitive. That's what we're seeing now with Facebook. Like remember when people had to take pictures? Like, no, now you just plug in, something connects to your brain. You don't ever move really, but you move around in the virtual world because it's not safe. There's no viruses. There's no viruses in here. It's all digital. It's all safe. The biology is safe. But machines turn around and do the work for us, but we have to pay the machines with biological energy. So they just somehow suck energy out of us. So we're symbiotic to each other.
That's weird because Bruce Willis made a movie similar to what you just said.
Did he?
I forget the name of the movie.
Was it Ready Player One?
Was it what?
Ready Player One?
I don't know. I gotta look it up. But Bruce Willis, he was a cop, and he had a double that would go out and do the work.
Yeah, I know what movie you're talking about.
Yeah, and then his wife, I think she just stayed in the room and never came out for a while.
Yeah, but they would be kind of like different people in the. Yeah. But no, what that movie had is they had robots. So like you would be in control of a robot that was out in the real world, but that wasn't really you, but it was in the real world.
Right. Yeah.
But I'd imagine it's been boring. John said he hasn't seen anybody but you, Jacob, and my mom.
Well, he went with me yesterday and we saw Teresa and her kids.
I'm sure he's seen some friends.
What Jamal saw us at Walmart one day.
Oh, okay.
That was it. He met us at Walmart. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The police are being hit real hard with the virus.
Well, yeah, you did dealing with the public.
Yeah.
Anytime someone's had to deal with the public, even going to the grocery store, you got to figure at least one person had the virus going in the grocery store.
Yeah.
Any grocery store that you go into, just figuring that the virus is in this grocery store. Now, that's what I'm saying. It's like, how are you going to keep people from really contacting this virus? And I think it really depends on the immune system of the person in the beginning or in the first place, because there's no way when I'm out here and not more people are dying.
Right.
You know.
Well, in the case with the Spanish flu of 1918, if you had a strong immune system, it attacked you worse. Because your immune system, your immune response is actually what would kill you, not the virus itself. So people were suffocating because their lungs were filling with fluid. So it was really hitting young people hard. Where they're saying with this one, it's hitting older people or people with pre-existing conditions. With the Spanish flu, it was taking out a lot of young people who had no pre-existing conditions. So it really all depends.
Yeah, it depends, but like I say, Sean, I don't know, like, you and Donna, for instance, how many places have you guys been since you've been off work?
Only place I've been to Home Depot maybe twice, and I've been to Kroger.
Now, how many times you went to Kroger?
Maybe 3 times.
Now, you went there 3 times. Out of each different time, say nobody went the first time with the virus, but say they went the second and third time. Every time we go out, we gamble ourselves, but we need supplies. Like you need your food, your water, gas. That's basically it. There ain't nothing else you're out here for. You're not out here really eating out. You're not out here for entertainment, nothing. You know, other than getting gas, food, and back home. But like going to Home Depot, Kroger's, we're still susceptible to this virus because it's the public. And even the police, the hospital. Whenever we have to go outside our house, we're susceptible to catching the virus. And I can't see us. I mean, how much quarantine can you do?
Right. We're in the middle of something where we really don't know what the next move is.
No, but
we're like backed into a corner.
Yeah, we're going to continue to hoard like the supplies we need. It's going to be people are going to just keep buying and keep buying and keep buying it. And
they're going to give us, and the government's going to give us money so we can keep going. Without money, you'd see everything taper off and people could revert to stealing.
Well, people can't pay for stuff, so they
have to give us. They're stepping in to give us money, and they're stepping in fast. I don't even think a lot of people really didn't get a chance to miss more than one check, maybe, and they're already talking like, let's get some money to these people before they go nuts, start breaking and stealing.
Well, the economy is going bad. People they don't want to pay anything. They want to hold on to the cash they have. I mean, people are panicking, and that's another thing that's hampering the economy. Things got to keep going on. You got to pay your house note. You got to pay your car notes. They deferring a lot of stuff, but still people are just getting hoardish. They just want everything. They want to keep their money. They only want to buy food, water, and gas. That's it.
Yeah. Me included.
Nobody wants to go out here and buy a car.
No. I want a F450, but what am I gonna do with it? I can't even work. I can't even cut grass.
Yeah.
Now here's the other flip side of that story, though. It's like, do I want to cut grass and have somebody come work for me who has coronavirus and then ultimately dies? Does it mean I could have stopped it? No, I can't. But I don't want to be doing nothing I don't really want to be operating any business right now when people are dying from coronavirus.
Right. You have to go to these customers' houses. And you don't know, if you interact with somebody.
There's going to be a lady, there's going to be an old lady that's been in a house for 3 weeks, and she's going to want to come outside and say hi because she's been lonely. It's like she's going to want some human connection, and then you had it, and you give it to her, and she dies. And you're like, dang.
I think this is going to hurt the economy a whole lot. A lot of businesses are going under.
Yeah, I know a lot of people right now, businesses that are like, look, I got overhead. And luckily for me, I don't have much overhead at this point. I was looking at places like places to store my equipment, and they're like $1,500 a month, and I'm glad I didn't do nothing, because that would be one of those things like you can't pay it.
All right.
So this, I mean, as far as business, it's not hurting me too bad, just because I just don't have a lot of overhead.
Yeah.
It's like if you have a yard for landscaping and lawn mowing, whatever, you got to be able to stack a year's to 6 months rent. You got to be doing that in either way, just because of winter. But then you got people, we're coming off of one of the slowest winters. That was really slow. And you get a company that hasn't made any money for snow plowing, and they're thinking like, we finally made it. We barely skated by and made it because the winter was so slow. It was the worst case scenario, and we can't work. And you got a big company. You're in trouble.
Yeah. Well, it's just like the big three, you know. I mean, I don't know what kind of incentives, what more they're going to be able to do. But they're going to probably offer 0% financing. Probably the 2020 models will probably mark almost half price or whatever.
They just started, because those F450s haven't come down yet. But when those F450s come down, that's when you know, like, they're really starting to offer some incentives. You know, right now I saw the F-150 went down to 0% for 84 months, but they're just getting started. Once they start dropping those prices, along with 0%,
right, that's when the economy will pick up.
that's when I'm gonna pick me up an F-450. Hopefully I can get a deal.
I think you will. I think you should wait, though.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna wait till
you should wait till towards the end of the year.
Yeah, toward like August.
Probably later than that.
Well, I gotta do something in August, because this truck is due to go back.
Well, if you can, maybe get another month out of so on.
Right, I could probably do that. I could probably extend it for a couple months if I wanted to.
Wait till like the year-end model. Like you probably get a 2020 for probably what, you know, versus a 2021.
Well, that brings up an interesting question. Is like, how are we going to launch? Every new model is going to be delayed. We were just about to start building a new model, and this derailed all of Ford's plans to build a new model truck. Everything's going to be backdated, back ordered, everything's messed. They haven't even fulfilled the orders that have been ordered.
Right.
And then this?
Well, I mean, it's nothing they can really do.
Nothing they can do.
They can get with the UAW and force us back to work, and we're going to go back to work as soon as they say, "Oh, come back to work," without even checking us. I guarantee you that.
They could try. What do you think Donald Trump got to say about that?
Well, I think we should all be tested before we go back to work. And the people who are tested positive, maybe they have a vaccine or something by the time, but you test positive, how can you go back to work?
Well, one issue with that is if you test positive, or if you test negative and you go back to work, so you send 20,000 people back to work because they tested negative, that doesn't mean they can't test positive in 2 weeks. The virus is still out there.
Well, I guarantee you that someone in my plant, someone in your plant, before we even left, had the virus.
Oh, for sure. Someone in my department did. But the thing is, we know that someone had it, but but like you say, we didn't test everybody. So we don't know if 20 people had it.
Right. Or everybody in the plant.
Right. Everybody in the plant. They only tested. I wonder how many people failed the test.
What do you mean failed? They either have it or don't.
How many people don't have it who took the test? Because they don't give you the test unless you pretty much got it. They're like, look, we can't waste the test.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, how do you know you have it or not?
What if they tested everybody and just found out, like, look, everybody has it. Like, it's bad. If you take the test, you have it.
Yeah, but what can you do?
It seems like maybe if you get a little bit of it, it's one thing, or you can get a lot of it. Like, the more you're exposed to it, the worse.
Yeah. I don't know. It just seems kind of weird.
Yeah. So do you think it's a conspiracy?
No, I'm not going to go into that theory, but anything's possible right now.
Yeah.
You know, anything's possible.
There's a lot of stimulus money going around.
Yeah, well, I don't know how it's going to really help.
They're claiming 100% unemployment. Your unemployment is 100% of your pay.
Okay, but how long could that keep up?
I don't know.
But you're talking how many people are probably out of work
Right.
in this whole state?
I don't know. Probably what, 20%, 30%? Maybe more.
Probably a little bit more than that.
Most in history, that's for sure.
I would say probably 50%.
Right.
Because if you look at the schools, you know, I mean, the only thing you got going is retail, home care, and law enforcement.
Right, yeah.
Fast production, fast production, that really slowed down or ceased.
Yeah. We should have known, though. We should have known when they canceled all the NBA and all that stuff. We were still going to work. Like, come on, man.
Right.
And I was so dumb. I was a proponent for working. I'm like, yeah, let's work. I didn't know. I'm so stupid. I was really ready to work.
Well, I was too, Sean. Don't get me wrong, but when you start taking tables out the cafeteria, now we don't have a place to eat because you want to separate social gatherings.
Is that what they were doing?
To a minimum. Yeah, they were taking the tables.
Wow, they
would
just
take
took the
a
tables away.
Table of four. They would take a table of four, and they would put cardboard with tape on each side of the table in a diagonal fashion, and that's what they call themselves social distancing.
That's very retarded.
All right, so you got a table of four, and you cut the person right across from you. You cut that chair off, and you cut the chair off next to you. So they took all the tables out the cafeteria, so we had no place to sit and eat our lunch.
Wow.
Then we come back the next day. The supervisor tells us he can't take us to go get a high-low. We have to walk inside one because social gathering again. So I'm like, you know, then I started acting like the class clown at work. I'm like, you know, this is really ridiculous. I say, here the union is talking to us. You tell a young lady to get on the high-low and go to this line and go to work. How do you expect her to do her job when she doesn't have a high-low and you're not going to take her?
Wow.
And that's my argument. Then the next day, they tell us not to come to work.
Wow.
But I had a layoff coming on. I had a layoff coming up March 30th anyway. And I said yeah to it, but before we could finish out the week, they sent us home. Well, no, the next night, I got a phone call in the morning, Wednesday morning, not to report to work. Not to report to work the rest of the week, and I'll be informed. I'm laid off as of right now, indefinitely.
Wow.
So I've been off until now, and I guess another return to work date was for the whole UAW, April 14th. But like you say, I guess they're going to reevaluate and they have to have some kind of test or something because it doesn't make sense to go back to work and not be tested to know if someone had the virus and you was working right next to them. What are you open up for? Ain't nothing sanitized in the plant.
Nobody's buying these vehicles.
Well, who's working?
Right, no one's working. No one's buying a vehicle right now. I think, like,
Right. Yeah.
I hope that they really just set a return to work date as just a general, just out of something they had to do, and they really, it doesn't mean that we're returning to work. It just means that that's the date that we put out, because they can't put out too far out in advance. They can't come out and say we're going to shut down for 3-4 months. They're going to go in 2-week increments, and it's just going to keep going until it's a safe time to come back. I really hope they don't try to force everybody to come back, because as much as we want our jobs or love our jobs or want the pay or whatever reason you go to work, this virus is bad enough to where you might make the decision just to say, you know what, fuck that job. It is that bad of a virus. I might do that because I might have something else that I just do after. It's not going to ruin my life if I don't work there no more. They try to force us to work during this.
No, but I think that if they should force you back to work, you should probably get you a test to make sure that you're not positive for the virus.
Right. Well, even that wouldn't work, because you can take the test, but how are you going to certify that everybody quarantined after they took the test and it came back negative? Then you'd have to quarantine yourself. You're still out in the public.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
It could still break out.
You...
It could still break out again.
Well, I don't know. I just think that the first rule of thumb is that you need to see if it's even feasible to have people come back to work if there's no vaccine or no kind of treatment or something that can prevent the spread or even combat it, because it's not fair for a person to come to work with the virus and a person to come to work without the virus.
And people are really scared to not. I mean, not
so,
everybody's got different. Like, if I had a fever and the flu, I might go. I don't know. Maybe I won't. Maybe I will. But there's people who will go and they're scared to miss work.
Sean, just look at the mentality of people. Now, do you wear a mask when you go out?
No, I don't.
Now, look, when you go out, how many people have you seen with a mask? And when you see those people with masks, they have a mask on, so you don't know if they have the virus or not. But for them to even have the mask on, that says a statement to someone without the mask.
Right.
And that could either cause a scare for just
people at work were wearing them.
People. Yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying. People at work will wear this mask, but they could have the virus or not.
Well,
you know,
I got a mask in my truck just in case, so I can put it on, but it's really uncomfortable. I'm like,
well,
I'd rather not.
It really is. It's like constricting your ear, and it's not air at that.
And that's the only reason it works, by the way. It works because you don't have no fresh air.
Right, you got this hot air.
Yeah. Now, if the virus gets on your mask, you're still getting the virus. It's not good enough to keep the virus out. It's just keeping air in general out. Like, you're just not getting no air.
Right. I don't know. It's contradictory, because this could actually turn into something worse than what it is. You know. And to be honest with you, if people could turn against each other just looking at each other out and about, you see somebody with a mask, somebody comes in. Like, we were at Walmart one day, and this was before this really broke out real good. I think it was in December, maybe even January. Maybe January. No, it happened in February, March. And a young Chinese lady walks in with a mask. And all of a sudden you start hearing little slurs here and there. And people were talking about this lady.
Oh my goodness.
So she turns around and walks out. But it's like,
that's terrible.
The fact that she's Oriental, you don't know if she came from China, she could be Chinese, but she has a mask on and she's in a store. Yeah, okay, you got black people, white people in the store, but you have.
But we've
Chinese
decided
lady
to
in there.
turn on Chinese people. Or
Yeah,
people,
just
not
because
me,
she was
but people in
Chinese.
general.
Just because the disease originated from there, as they say, and the fact that she had a mask on.
Right.
That's a lot. That says a lot to the public or to a person in general. And it's kind of like prejudice, or it's like a prejudice hysteria.
Yeah.
You know.
That happens, yeah, in this country.
Right.
Yeah.
And just the name coronavirus. Now, I'm quite sure corona sales might have took a hit, or might even gained a hit. But just the fact that they named it coronavirus.
Well, it was always named coronavirus. Like, coronavirus isn't technically what it is. A coronavirus is technically just a cold virus. It's very common. In fact, it's on the bottle of Lysol, and products that kill it. It's already there. But it was really weird as how when it first came out, it was coronavirus, and then people were kind of like, well, that already exists. So then it became COVID-19. Like, it's like people caught on to how silly that was, so they kind of gave it a new name, COVID-19.
Right. And the same with the hurricanes. Every time they have a hurricane come out off the coast, or the east coast of Florida or Mississippi, it's like hurricane this, hurricane that, Hurricane Andrew, Hurricane Katrina. It's like, wow. I mean, it's like, I don't know, the names they come up with.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. I think that they need to do a worldwide testing to see at least how this is affecting people that are already distancing themselves, to make sure that this is not spreading at an alarming rate, or...
Oh, it's definitely spreading at an alarming rate.
Well, I think that's another thing that will panic the people, because if they found out they had it, that will be even more.
Well, part of the issue,
disastrous,
is they can't get enough tests.
Right.
To test. I mean, you're talking. Even just our country in our country alone is 300 million people. Coming up with 300.
Hell of a coincidence.
What?
You want to distance the people that have it, or just distance the people, period, and we could already have it.
Right.
So it's kind of like a good thing not knowing versus knowing, because you would even panic more if you had it.
Right. Plus, also the fact that 2 weeks can go by before you have symptoms, and you can spread it. So if you say, let's just say we saw each other, and then 2 weeks later, we both get it. We don't know who gave it to who.
You don't.
We
just. That's the whole thing. They need to monitor that instead of trying to keep everybody together. I mean, away from each other, because I think that the damage has already been done.
Right.
And people have to educate themselves a little bit more. If we knew, than not know, because when you don't know, you assume.
Right.
People could really have this virus and be walking around without any symptoms. And if that's possible, like I say, everybody probably got the virus in some form. It might be a certain strand that their body fought off, or it's not as strong to hurt their bodies. But I think that they should have some kind of testing before they really open up the society, so we can educate ourselves better.
Right.
Because this could be just a little bit more than just washing your hands or keeping your house sanitized. I've been spraying my remotes. I've been spraying door handles with Lysol. We've been mopping the floor with antibacterial cleanser, bleaching down everything, and still, it's like...
You can't kill a virus.
No, you can't if you already have it.
Right.
But we need to educate ourselves that we know if we have it, what precautions, what we need to do. Even going back to work, like, how do you work next to someone who has it, or is it safe to work next to someone who has it?
Right.
You know, that hasn't been treated, or, you know, it's just, like you say, man, I think that it's a panic, but we need to educate ourselves,
Yeah.
you know, and it's hard to do because we can't figure out if we're even infected or not.